a Gump Goodness. A second Gump Goodness for you. And it's about Chris Bey and the possibility of him wrestling again. Now, when Bound for Glory happened, I legitimately forgot to add him to my Bound for Glory review. It angers me that I forget things, but there was so much content there. It's not easy to realize that you're there, even though I have notes and I glance at my notes. Not all the time I can remember absolutely everything and always remember to read everything because being dyslexic is a little hard to read. And I'm trying to make sure I'm going from one thing to another properly. And it's easy, even with the notes written that Chris Bey appeared, you can miss it. So I missed Chris Bey and his announcement talking about how many people were there. He was the one who made the announcement of 7,700 and I believe it was 94 people that was at the arena at the time. He did not say he was coming back or not. But this has been released many, many days after Bound for Glory. I believe it was released on the 15th. And the thing about this, and I wanted to see if there was more information. I was actually waiting. When it came to Chris Bey, 11 months ago, this guy should have been dead. He shattered his neck. And he's lucky he managed to get 2 fusions of his neck to get him to work. And now he is walking again. Now, I have not seen the Chris Jericho video yet with him. I want to make this clear. I did notice that it was there. This was before I realized it and they had a connection to it. I already come up with what I wanted to say. And the scenarios that could be there. Counting on how well Chris was going to be. And I did see this. And I could say, well, I'm going to talk about this. And then I could do another video afterward, after I see the video. And that's what I wanted to do. I know I could add this in. I can just turn this camera off, go watch it, then turn the camera back on and do a Gump report because it will probably be longer than that. But I want to see a little bit after this what they're going to do with Chris Bey. Because let's make this very clear. I saw Fade to Black. This is the thing. I did not make a review of the Bound for Glory videos. I didn't. They were just documentaries. And I didn't feel like I wanted to do the documentaries. I just didn't want it. I just wanted to watch them. But I did see the Fade to Black Bound for Glory documentary and the other one. And when I saw Chris Bey, I was happy. And he got an award from Carlos Silva saying the most achieved person. Now, mind you, is it a ceremonial thing? Of course it is. But Chris is there. And next to seeing Casey Navarro, who had already blown out his knee, and he got the surgery and he is able to be there. He can't wrestle yet. Seeing Chris there made me very, very happy. But here's the thing. What is Chris going to do with wrestling now? What is he going to do with not WWE, but technically WWE is going to be involved in some way with TNA. And will he be involved in that? This is what I was thinking about when it came to Chris Bey. Counting on what condition Chris is in, because he doesn't seem like he has enough dexterity, at least yet, for his hands. That could still take some more time in therapy. Now, he did state that he was released from the hospital, that he can do therapy at home, which is great. His girlfriend's with him. They're going to still keep doing therapy, and I do believe that he will recover enough that not only he'll be able to walk, he may be able to run, to jump. I don't know if he can ever wrestle again. But it is mentioned in the article, and I'll probably leave a link to that one, along with the Chris Jericho video, because I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to see it, and I'll make a follow-up video eventually, because I'm sure there's going to be a follow-up to this situation with Chris Bey, and what he said to Chris Jericho, and what they're going to do with him in TNA. I don't think he's done with TNA. They can let him be anywhere, but for him to travel around the way he did, unless it was near where he was living, he traveled to Bound for Glory. He went there. Does that mean, could he be working for the company? It's just not in a wrestling capacity, but in the back capacity. Because, yeah, he hasn't worked as many years, like 20 or 30 years in the business. But it doesn't mean he couldn't still help, like Chris Slater. Not Chris Slater. I'm thinking, you know, when I think of Leon Slater, he reminds me of someone, I forgot his name, was Chris something. And he was very, very good in the ring. I think I saw him in in National Wrestling League. His name was Chris something. I can't remember. And he reminds me of him. But I haven't seen anything of him. He may still be in the indies. He may have quit. But when I look at Leon Slater, he reminds me of a wrestler named Chris. I just don't remember who he is. But the thing is, he could teach a Leon Slater. Hell, Devon Evans is now working with Leon Slater. He could be working with them. Now, for me personally, look, I'm going to make this clear. I may actually turn this into a Gump report instead of a Gump Goodness video. Because I'm thinking it's going to take longer than 2 minutes to say. But I'm going to say this. As someone who's part black, and I don't like to bring up my mixed heritage much, because this is not about what race you are in pro wrestling. It's about how much you're over, how much you put the work in, and what you get out of it. Not just this, but know that you're relevant in the business, and people, kind of like with Eddie Edwards and Fade to Black, I'm just hope that I get the respect and admiration of my peers, because I put the work in. I worked hard. I proved myself. That is what it really comes down to. Race doesn't mean two fucking jack shits in wrestling. Does there any racism in wrestling? Of course there is. There's still racism in anything. It doesn't matter which race. Even the black race is just as racist as white, Asian, Mexican, Japanese. It doesn't matter. There's always going to be racism no matter where we go in this world. But in general, this is all about how much work you put in and how much you get out of it. But due to the fact that he has been in the business a long time, and yes, when it comes to Leon Slater, he's been in it since he was 9. And pretty much when it comes to Devon Evans, he's been in like 5 or 6 years as of this moment. Does not mean they could not gain some insight with Chris Bey, even though he may be as much of the years as Leon Slater or more, or less. You never know, but Leon started when he was 9. There's a difference between an adult going into wrestling business compared to a kid. They have different experiences. As an adult, Chris Bey has an entire different type of story in real life than Devon Evans or a Leon Slater, and he can impart that to him. And as they say, you want to see the same race to teach you something in whatever you do. And at this point in time, for me personally, this is just me, I think it doesn't really matter what damn race you are, unless in the sense that if this is supposed to be a story about race, that might be a little different. But in this situation, it shouldn't matter that Devon Evans and Leon Slater are being taught by Chris Bey because they're all black. The only difference, you got one guy from Britain and 2 guys that are from America. It shouldn't matter. But to other people, and I'm not taking anything for anybody who is black, pure-blooded American black, which is not pure-blooded, you got some white in you, or mixed like myself. It doesn't really matter, but still there are people going to see it that way. Look at Mara Sage. She made it very clear in her journey to become a wrestler that jazz became an inspiration. And any other black woman who was in pro wrestling became an inspiration to her. Even Awesome Kong. That's just her journey. And I'm not going to take anything from her. So Devon Evans and a Leon Slater, they will gain something from Chris Bey if he's working in the back. And any other black wrestler, and even Mara Sage could gain something from Chris Bey if he's there to teach. But that's going to be the big question. Is he now going to be in the back working with TNA, at least when he's functional enough to travel constantly with the company, depending on wherever they go, if they're doing tapings, will he be willing to do all that? Because if he's still having a problem with his neck, he still needs more work to be able to become more functionable, to travel, to take his luggage, to sit in a chair on a plane for what? 4, 5, 7, 10, 15 hours, especially if they go abroad. That's going to be the big question. Can he actually do that yet? My guess is not yet. I think he still needs more therapy. But the key to me, this is me. I want to see Chris Bey stay in the wrestling business, because even though he may not have as many years as other wrestlers, does not mean he doesn't have a keen mind for the business. I do believe he does have a good mind for the business. I do. For me personally, I truly believe Chris Bey, if he's able to become, counting if he becomes functional enough, because he can walk wherever he needs to go, but can he handle the strain of traveling with the company compared to just walking in on a one-time thing to the company like Bound for Glory? If he can, I'm hoping he can one day. If it's another 3 or 4 or 5 months, and then he reaches a point where, yeah, I can't wrestle anymore. I just can't. But I want to work with a company. I love this company. I'll retire at this company. If he's able to do it, more power to him. I want to see this. Hell, he could become not person just in the back. He can also become a manager. Ain't nothing wrong with him being a manager. I would love to see the finesser of TNA, which I still call him the Smooth Criminal, because look what he did. Look what this Smooth Criminal did. He stole everybody's heart after he broke his damn neck. He already had people loving him. Look what he managed to accomplish with 2 vertebrae broken. Everyone loves Chris Bey. That's how much of a smooth criminal that boy is. He managed to get everyone to love him because he's a good man. And that's the deal. So he could become a manager. He may not be able to go in the ring anymore, but it doesn't mean he doesn't know how to talk. He doesn't know how to do a promo. He doesn't know how to guide people. Dude, the guy can do it. I would love to see him a manager if he can travel. Remember, this still counts on if he can actually travel around the country or go internationally. He has to be able to travel without having severe pain. I don't want to see this boy get hurt because he started traveling from one place to another and he's aggravating the injury he has. If he's reasonable, let's say, he's still going to go even if he has some level of pain. Every wrestler has it. They always got some type of problem. But if he's not 80%, he's maybe 20 or 30%, and he's happy with that, even with pain, more power to him. That's what I wouldn't mind seeing. If he doesn't work in the back as some type of trainer or promoter, well, not promoter, a trainer, maybe part of talent relations, maybe he's working with merch, he could become a manager. Now, the last thing that was in the article, which I'm going to probably connect, will he ever go back in the ring, and should he do one more match? Here's the thing. If Chris reaches a point that he can wrestle again, my feeling is this. This is just what I think. This is speculation. All speculation. This is what I think. Let's say in another 6 months, he finally reaches a point that he has enough dexterity that he can actually go in the ring. He can take bumps. The doctors say he's safe. I wouldn't mind seeing him have a couple of matches that culminates to Bound for Glory. I do not want him to do constant matches, because getting a double fusion, that is still dangerous. It's only been 11 months, but this is what I'm thinking. If he's physically safe, capable of taking bumps, able to doing his moves without any major injuries, my feeling is this, and this is just me. When it comes to Chris Bey, counting on his own mind is into this, he said in the article, I want closure. He's not worried about constantly keep trying to go back to wrestling. He just wants closure on his career. And that's where I would think this, that if he's physically able to go, he doesn't need to do every show every day. Well, you know what I mean. Do a whole bunch of tapings, then go, then do some more tapings, then do a TNA Plus show. No. Show him on the show. Let him do a few matches. Build up into it. Build into a match at a signature pay-per-view where it will culminate in closure for him. This is me. This is just me. No one else has made the decision. If he could, next year's Slammiversary, counting if he can handle it, or better yet, go for Bound for Glory. Write an entire year's worth of stuff where if he's found that he is capable of going in the ring, he can take bumps, he's not going to be in any danger, start building it into Bound for Glory. Have him talk most of the time. Have him manage first. Then have him go in the ring. Then have him with a feud with the right person and let it culminate to Bound for Glory, where he will get the ultimate payoff and closure that he more than deserves. Chris Bay bust his ass for this company when it was Impact. He could have left. Understand, Chris Bay, at the time when he joined Impact Wrestling, it was barely even considered. Because they made it very clear, after 2017 is when they really started to build the company back up. Before that, it was nothing but trash. Nobody wanted to work for it unless they literally were down on their luck. They had to bust their ass to get the company where it is today. They literally, and he was part of that. Believe me, he was a part of that rebuilding of the company until he broke his neck 11 months ago. And I want to see this guy legitimately get the payoff that he deserves. So if he was able at any time, let's say next year or the year after, that he can finally go in the ring, even if it's in a limited amount of time, don't rush it. Make him be a manager first. Then transition him back to being wrestling. And then make sure that that wrestling only culminates to a pay-per-view. Either Slammiversary or Bound for Glory, where it will be done. He will get his closure. He deserves to have a special signature pay-per-view at Bound for Glory or Slammiversary. And then he can walk away from in-ring performance. Doesn't mean you have to walk away from wrestling. He can stay in the back. He can stay a manager. Just to let him have this moment, let him wrestle at a pay-per-view, and then let him go back to either just working in the back or just being... I would love, if he was able to, for him to come back as a manager, then transition to a wrestler briefly, have it at Slammiversary or Bound for Glory, and then he transitioned back to being a manager and he never wrestles again. That's what I'm hoping for. Because I truly believe Chris has a huge amount to give to pro wrestling as a manager. Counting if he can handle, again, counting if Chris can handle traveling. Because they're going to keep traveling. And the key is going to be, can he handle the grind of traveling? Going in cars, flying in planes, maybe living out of your suitcase. That's not an easy life for a pro wrestler. It's exhausting. But it's just me. And I hope you enjoyed this Gump report. It's not going to be Gump goodness. It's too long. Give me a comment below. Peace.